Among us, a few of us have got a little issue with the crew. Yeah, if we only knew. We have to maintain parts of the ship, repair some damage from our trip, try not to get murdered in our sleep. We do not yet know which one of us is acting incredibly sus. It won't be long before we bleed out. Among us, a few of us have got a little issue with the crew. Yeah, if we only knew that among us, a small amount of people who are here to murder
Welcome. Welcome to the stream. Do you like it? Give me just a second. I gotta turn off the fan just so I can get some better audio going. Give me just a second, fellas. I saw that Soundtrack by Twitch has an Among Us playlist, and you know I had to click it. Perfect. How are you guys doing tonight? How's everyone doing tonight? You guys doing awesome? Okay, let's... I just had this for the intro. Let me get something like actually good. Let's get this. Lo-fi. You are ready for firing Manuel? Based. It's a little quiet. No, it picks up. Okay. You always wanted a firing manual? You could probably find one on eBay. Actually, I'll see if I can find it on eBay. Fire control fund metals. Because you can find a lot of these like old manuals on eBay and stuff. Okay, you can't find this one on eBay, but you can find newer versions of the thing that probably aren't as cool because they don't have all the cool stuff that the one I have up, or I'm about to put on screen, does. We have a 1978 Air Force Survival Training Manual. Yeah, see, that kind of stuff. That's good. I have a slight feeling that the modern manuals, though, aren't as good. And they certainly don't have the cartoons that this one does. That you may have seen on an announcement or something. Am I on just chatting? Okay, I am. So let me get this pulled up. I want to check eBay real quick. Actually, no. Let's get off eBay. That's not the point. I'm not shopping. What am I doing? So we're going to select this, and then we're going to click this. Kerblam! See, is this seeable? Can you guys read this? Actually, I'll zoom in a little. So, you give it to an Air Force guy that got it in the 2005, and it's the same thing? Okay. If you have like a link to like a PDF of it online, I'll give it a read on like a future stream if you want. Depending on how well this reading stream does, at least. Welcome to the channel. I'm Sorrel Souffle. I don't think I've seen you here before. If I click on you, I can see how many messages you have. Yeah, this is your first time here. I'm Sorrel Souffle. I'm a ship tuber. You know Kantai collection, right? It's kind of like that. Let me get the picture. Ta-da! My live 2D that'll be done eventually. But that's the model for it. Let's put that away for now. I try to do that whenever there's a new person here. Let's see. Okay. So this is Fire Control Fundamentals, aka NavPers 91900. What does O mean? Did I say something bad? I'm sorry. What does O mean? It's ominous. It's from 1953. It was created to introduce sailors to the basics of weapon fire control. No, just saying it to the drunk. Oh, okay. Gotcha. It will be my live 2D someday. The person rigging it is not having the best time, and I'm not going to make her do it when she doesn't need to. Oh, ship VTuber. Yes. Yes. Okay, I get you now. You can't really see it on this PNG because this is an art breeder PNG that I made. It's the one I've stuck with. I'll figure out making the other one a PNG at some point so that I can just use that and then move on the other side of the screen. Ooh. But this manual contains the basic fire control principles of gun against a surface target, and then applies the same concepts to anti-aircraft guns, anti-submarine weapons, torpedoes, rockets, and very, very early guided missiles. There is a page missing. Don't worry too hard about that. So here we go. It's a very boring cover. This is to help people who are in the fire control rating, I presume. I've known some people who probably didn't read this manual because I think he was out of the Navy by this time. It's an older gentleman who served in the Navy during Korea on a destroyer, and he was a fire controlman. Is the music at the right audio level? Yeah, the music should be good. I don't think it's too loud, is it, fellas? So it's to help with specialization. If you're not familiar, in the Navy, you tend to specialize in something. You're not just like a handy. Well, there are handymen, I think, but it's a role. It's a specific job as a specialization. This knowledge level. So I believe this is saying that you need to know this stuff before you're really ready for this, to understand this. Basic electricity, basic electronics, FT rating, indoctrination. So there's a lot of stuff here. This is like a pretty long pamphlet manual. It's pretty darn long. But here we go. Here's our first drawing, a real drawing. Shows all the different stuff that'll be talked about in this book, this whole booklet. The story of fire control. The purpose of this series of instruction sheets is to introduce you to some of the many things you will encounter in your work as a fire control technician. You will get an overall view of the history of fire control and a brief summary of its present-day applications. You will see how the basic fire control principles, developed for firing a gun at a surface target, are applied to the control of anti-aircraft guns, anti-submarine weapons, torpedoes, rockets, and guided missiles. So what this is saying is that the basic concept behind doing gunfire control applies to the rest of the fire control methods in one way or another. They have a lot in common, more in common than you'd initially think. Though I'd say anti-submarine weapons are a bit different from guns in most cases. It's still the same kind of basic concepts are involved. You'll learn You'll learn what the major components of various modern fire control systems are and what functions each serves. As you learn about fire control, you will realize that the Navy is only as strong as its firepower, and in order for that firepower to be effective, it must be accurately controlled. That's where you, as a fire control technician, play a vital part in making your ship an effective weapon against enemy ships, planes, and submarines. It will be your job to operate and maintain the many complex devices used in your ship's various fire control systems. Your job as a fire control technician. After you learn the theory of fire control, you will not automatically become a proficient fire control technician. Your duties as a fire control technician will be many and varied. You will be called upon to operate and maintain many different kinds of mechanical and electrical devices. You must be a mechanic and know how to use hand tools, gauges, and instruments effectively to adjust and repair mechanical fire control devices. You must also be an electrician, for you'll be working with electronic circuits, electric motors, and switchboards. Your battle station may be at a gun director tracking the target, in the plotting room operating various computing devices, or operating a radar set to determine target range and accuracy of fire. Whatever or wherever you're stationed, you must know how to operate and maintain your equipment. So this is showing the many duties, of course, of a fire control technician. At this period, if you go to any American battleship museum, or most American ship museums, but especially battleships, and you go into the turrets of the battleship, you'll see a table that looks a lot like this, except without the door on the side for maintenance open. This is a very early type of computer that you input fire control data to, and it gives you ranges, and it tells you how to angle the guns, and it tells you velocity and wind speed, and all sorts of other factors you need to aim the guns properly, and where to aim for predicted best results. There's also these rangefinders that people sit in and do all that stuff in as well, outside of the guns. Ooh, excuse me. You've been selected to study fire control because the Navy believes you have the many varied qualities necessary to become a fire control technician. Now let's go on and learn more about the challenging and vital problem of controlling the Navy's fire control. Say that 5 times fast. Oh my god. I'm going to tab out just a second, not too long. Just going to click 2 buttons. Just going to click 2 buttons. Okay. We are back. The story of gunpowder and early guns. Gunpowder, first developed by the Chinese many centuries ago, was not used for anything but entertainment. Parentheses, fireworks. For a long time after its discovery. The discovery of the principle of the gun, that is, using an explosion to fire a projectile from a tube, was made accidentally in the 13th century by a man who was trying to turn mercury into gold. According to the story, he had an ingredient which caused his mixture to explode, blowing the top off his kettle. Repeating this experiment several times gave him the idea for a weapon which became known as a quote-unquote gun. From such a humble beginning, developed the intricate and powerful weapons of today, which certainly aren't for entertainment. This is one I post a lot. This discovery made this possible. Thanks to this dude with a boiling pot. This is a good one too. I can't believe I didn't save this one. Want to become famous? Yes, I do. I'd love to be famous. That's like the one thing I'd want the most, honestly. Okay, he's out of here. Get out of here! Get out of here! Early guns were very crude and unpredictable, often more dangerous to the gunner than the enemy, as in they would explode on you, because they didn't really figure out how all the steel stuff worked, and pressures, and the stuff that they do for math nowadays when they make a new gun. For many years, arrows and spears were far more effective than guns in combat. A crossbow bolt could penetrate a knight's armor. The early guns couldn't. The archer could fire several arrows while the gunner was loading and firing a single round. Many improvements in firearms were required before guns became a useful weapon. Stone projectiles were replaced by those made of bronze, and then lead and iron balls in the 14th century, and as time went on, gunpowder and guns were also improved to the point where gunnery became an important art. The story of gunpowder and early guns continued. Guns were used on ships on a large scale for the first time in the 15th century, when a Spanish fleet opened fire with cannon at point-blank range on the Turkish fleet, which was quickly defeated. Subsequent sea and land battles involving firearms began to prove the effectiveness of guns if properly used in combination with other weapons. By the middle of the 16th century, guns of many sizes and kinds were being used, some of them 10 feet long, capable of firing a 4.5-inch iron shot 500 feet per second for a distance of 2,000 yards. These were soon exceeded by a Mohammedan cannon, which fired a 400-pound projectile more than 2 miles. This is like the 15th century. I'm not sure. Less than 200 years ago, naval guns were fired at point-blank range. Gunnery was still an art, not a science, and fire control was largely a matter of skillful seamanship and maneuvering the ship into position to enable the gunners to hit the target. The range and destructive power of guns continued to increase over the years from an average effective range of 100 yards in the mid-1800s to more than 40,000 yards today. Methods of fire control in the modern sense were not developed until the 19th and 20th centuries. You will trace the development of gun sighting systems and fire control devices on the next 2 sheets. I'm going to very quickly BRB. Very quickly. I'm literally going to run and get something to drink, and then I'll be right back, because this is going to parch me, and I know it. So I'll be right back. Just a second. Enjoy the lo-fi. Okay, I am back. Welcome. How's everyone doing tonight? I see some more people floated in. How are you? How are you doing? How are you doing? Ugh. How are you guys doing? Everyone else who came in, are you guys having a nice night? You enjoying this pretty picture? This is wonderful artwork. Hopefully they credit who did this. I'd like to know if they have other art that's like this. These little diagrams. I like them a lot. That's the good stuff. All right. The development of gun sighting systems. The first concern of a fire control system is to provide an effective way of aiming. Of course, because if you don't aim, you're not going to hit nothing. This is the function of the gun sights. Prior to 1800, there was no need for elaborate gun sighting systems because the guns themselves were inaccurate except at close range. Guns were simply pointed at the target by eye. Gun sights introduced early in the 19th century consisted of fixed front and rear sights mounted so the line of sight across their tips was parallel to the bore of the gun. Toward the end of the 19th century, a sight telescope was developed by a Navy lieutenant. It consisted of a simple telescope containing a pair of crosshairs and was mounted in such a way that the line of sight could be moved with respect to the axis of the gun to correct for some of the factors which affect the solution of the fire control problem. There's a diagram here. We're going to get to it. Present-day gun sights take many forms, but they still perform the basic functions of all gun sights to provide a horizontal and vertical offset between the line of sight and the axis of the gun bore in order that the target may be kept in sight while the gun is aimed, so that the fixed projectile will hit the target. The fired projectile will hit the target. So as you can see here, no sights, simple, basically, literally just iron sights over here. Telescopic sight that it doesn't elevate. I don't believe, no, of course it doesn't. It doesn't elevate in sync with the gun, but it does stuff. Think like this is probably be approximating like a World War II tank sight or something, or like the tank sights in like War Thunder, I guess. I don't know if actual tank sights were like that. This is a modern gun sight, which is this horrifying machine with 1 million pieces. By present, it means 1953. So let's see. Early fire control developments. Improvements in gun sighting systems alone, however, were not enough. As the range and intricacy of guns increased, it became necessary to develop other fire control instruments which could accurately and rapidly solve the fire control problem. The first of such devices was the statometer, an optical device used to measure range, which enabled the gunner to determine range more accurately than could be done by eye. The statometer was crude and good only for short ranges, but embodied a principle later used in the Rangefinder. If you've watched like Pirates of the Caribbean or something, there's one of these in there. Crude statometers led to the development of rangefinders and increased accuracy of range determination. The largest and most important corrections in fire control are to compensate for the relative motion between gun and target. In the old days, the position of guns and the target at the moment of impact projectile were predicted by eye. In the early 1900s, an improvement was brought along by the marking of the position of the target on paper as it moved along its course, by measuring distance and direction from ship to target, from which it was possible to determine an approximate course and future position of the target. This is this is not a typo or the wrong word. This is just an older way of saying it. This led to the development of the Rangekeeper, a device which automatically corrects for changes in target range. The Rangekeeper was refined and improved till it reached its present form, making possible the rapid solution of other factors in the fire control problem. This is math, and this is why they invented computers, so that, partly, this is one of the reasons why computers exist. So that they could, figure out how to, blow ships up more accurately. Give me just a second to sip. I hope I'm not going too fast. There's a lot to cover. Like a lot. Ooh. I'm going to take a second. Just a second. Okay. I have notifications on Twitter. That's a... What is this? That is a sketchy account if I've ever seen one. Okay. Thanks whoever this person is. Okay. Where's Twitch? There's Twitch. If you guys have anything, if you want me to change the music up to something else, I can too. I'm open to any kind of request. That uh-oh. Is my stream dead? It's scary when this happens. 160p. Wonderful. Okay. Another factor which had to be taken into consideration to obtain, you can actually save these on this website as images. Like these are separate, you can highlight and separately save these. Another factor which had to be taken into consideration to obtain accurate fire was the inclination of the gun caused by the roll and pitch of the ship's deck. One early device used by nautical gunners was a round shot suspended from a spar. The gunner watched this improvised pendulum and fired his piece just before it was parallel to the mast, when the deck was horizontal. This same principle was later incorporated in the stable element and the stable vertical. These devices act like a child's spinning top in that their axes always remain truly vertical. This means a gyroscope, thus establishing a reference plane from which gun elevation angles can be measured. So basically what this means is, generally speaking, you want to be, when you're firing a gun, you want your ship to be as close to horizontal, or the deck, to be as close to parallel with the water as possible. Because then, if your rangefinder's accurate, it'll be the most accurate. Because if your ship is rolling in the opposite direction that your gun is facing, you're going to go high. And if it's the other way, you're going to go low. Ooh, excuse me. In some cases, it was preferred for ships like during World War II, or before World War II, to have to only fire when they're at the horizontal. So they have to wait for the roll to come back around to the horizontal position. A final factor which had to be considered to provide an effective fire control system was accurate determination of where each shot fell. In the early days, each gun crew worked out its own sight settings, and the gun was fired as soon as that gun crew had corrected the aim of their particular piece. With all guns firing independently, it was impossible to spot the individual gun's effectiveness with any accuracy. The central control station from which all guns were controlled, was developed to correct this inaccuracy. A new instrument called a director was installed in the control station. At first, the director was a pair of master gun sights, from which the settings were transmitted to the guns. As time went on, the gun director became more complicated and performed more jobs, which you'll learn about a little later. Centralized control didn't really come by until, like, the steel-hulled battleships of the 1880s, I think? Or maybe ironclads. I'm not totally sure. Ooh. But this director is feeding all the fire control information to the turrets, as you can see. This is meant to be an American heavy cruiser. It's just weirdly drawn. The major components of a fire control system. On the 3 previous sheets, you learned about the early development of gun sighting systems and fire control devices, and why it was necessary to develop certain pieces of equipment to perform specific tasks. The illustration on this sheet shows a typical modern fire control system and its major components. It is not necessary at this time for you to learn the details of how and why all the components function. Your job now is simply to become generally familiar with what the major components are, their primary function, and how they are related. So this is what they all send to each other. You can take a second to read that if you like while they check a setting. I want to make sure the music's not too loud, so I'm going to turn it down just a little bit. Okay. Ooh. How's everyone doing now? We got 6 people in here. How y'all doing? You better be having a good one. I hope so, anyway. That would be great if you were. You're chilling, Bumweiser? Okay, you like this? Hi, How to Fix. Welcome. Feel free to ask questions about the stuff that's like on screen. I'll try to answer. I'll try to also explain what's going on here, I think. So it doesn't start with the stable vertical, but the stable vertical determines like the current rolling point of the ship and like what's level and whatnot. And it feeds that to the director and to the rangekeeper, and then the rangekeeper feeds target range and bearing and target course and speed to the rangekeeper. The director does to the rangekeeper. Because the gun director looks at the target, and the stable vertical looks at the ship itself. So the rangekeeper keeps track of both sides of that to work things out. And then other things like the pedometer log, which keeps track of the ship's speed, and the ship's gyroscope, which keeps track of the ship's course and heading, then get fed to the rangekeeper, and it feeds where to point the gun and how much to elevate the gun, so the range that it would end up going to in order to successfully hit a target. Let me take another sippy. I have a Discord message. Give me a second. The function of fire control system components. The principal components of a fire control system. Actually, I'm going to go into OBS. I'm going to mess with some stuff in OBS. Let's put on the misc text. We're going to edit this. Ooh. Oh my lord. That was a good one. Great work, Sorrel. And we're going to put this... Oh yeah, look at that. Ain't that perfect? And welcome everybody. If anyone here is new, I'm Sorrel Souffle. I'm a ship boy, VTuber. I'm not based on any actual ship. I'm based on a ship I designed. And we're reading a 1953 manual to fire control on U.S. Navy warships for people who are new to the field in doing that as their job. Or specialization. The principal components of a fire control system, as shown on the preceding sheet, are the gun director, the rangekeeper or computer, the stable vertical or stable element, and the gun turrets, as well as related auxiliary equipment, such as the ship's gyro, the pedometer log, communication systems, and other things. The gun director is located high in the ship's superstructure to provide as distant a horizon as possible. And the higher you are, the further you can see. Pretty simple. By means of optical equipment and or radar, an electronic device which... Now, you might not have heard of radar before. If you don't know what radar is, you're about to learn. It's a different time. Radar was about 10 years old at this time. I feel like people would have known about it by the post-World War II era. Radar's a bit more than 10 years old by 53. But you guys get the idea. Sippy? An electronic device which you will study later used to locate objects by means of reflected radio waves. It's our LADAR now, isn't it? I don't even... Is this a joke that I don't get? LADAR. Oh, yeah, LIDAR. It's L-I, I believe, not LAID, but actually it's a bit of both. Yeah, it is, I think, mostly that these days. But radar's still really used a lot. For like, say, you've only heard people say, yeah, I haven't really seen that written before. But like, if you look at any ship, you know what? I'll just pull up a picture. Give me a second. I'm gonna hide Vivaldi. I always hold Vivaldi when I open a new tab, just in case. You get to enjoy everybody congratulating you. Congratulations. Congratulations. I'm gonna pull up an Arleigh Burke for reference. Yeah, thanks Wikimedia. Just give me the picture. Cut. Vivaldi on. As you look here at USS Arleigh Burke, this scene overlay. Isn't it a good one? That's an old image. That picture is like at least 8 years old, I think, that I was using, or that GIF. But so this right here, this is a radar. It's amazing, isn't it? I'm covering up Godzilla with a machine gun, but he's there. So this is a radar. I don't exactly get how the spy whatever radars work. They're very weird, and I'm not that technical. This is for communications, I'm pretty sure. This is a radar, but it's more for navigation, I'm pretty sure. This is like a navigation radar. Because, I mean, you see these on, like, fishing boats. I think this is a radar, too. If it's got a dome on it, it's for sensors and stuff. But yeah, they still use radars. There's probably a bunch of laser stuff, too. But lasers are a bit different than radar. Because a laser generally only points at one point, but a radar can make a beam that goes horizontal. And has a bit of vertical room, too. From what I understand. I'm not exactly a waves guy. Electromagnetic waves. That's not entirely my thing, but that's how I understand it. Now, laser rangefinders are still nonetheless very common. Especially in like land and probably air too. But I know basically every single fighter plane has a radar in it. But laser guidance is a thing, yeah. And I assume it kind of works in a similar way. Let's get back to the main thing here. The gun director is located high. We got there. The director is able to track the target and measure its range, bearing, direction from ship to target, course, and speed. It transmits this information to the rangekeeper and stable vertical, which are located in a plotting room below decks. There's one of these in like every ship. If you go on the New Jersey tour, I think it's the guided tour specifically. I don't think it's on the normal tour route. You can see the plotting room. I don't know about any of the other battleships, but I distinctly remember that on that tour. The rangekeeper takes the information from the director, combines it with the information on own ship's course from the ship's gyroscope and speed supplied by the pedometer log, and continuously computes the predicted data position, target position. It then transmits orders to the gun turrets, which are equipped with automatic equipment to train and elevate the guns in accordance with the orders received from the rangekeeper. The stable vertical measures the inclination of the deck and supplies this information to the director and rangekeeper, which incorporate the necessary corrections in their computations. Just another second. Okay. I'm going to check my phone, actually. Have been on for a little while. Cool. The complexity and arrangement of the components of fire control systems will vary widely depending on the ship, its armament, whether the system controls main, secondary, or anti-aircraft batteries, how many guns are controlled, and many other factors. Basically, however, the major elements always serve the same function. The director sights and tracks the target, the rangekeeper, computer, calculates the required gun settings, and the turrets aim the guns. Remember this, and you'll be well on your way to understanding fire control. Another thing I should point out is that a lot of modern ships, most modern ships, it's kind of unclear what the main gun is for. Like, if we look back at the Arleigh Burke, the missiles have a much larger range than the gun that it has. Tomahawks specifically go like 180 miles or something, which is pretty far. At least they're known to go that far. They probably go further. One of the points of the gun nowadays is just shore bombardment more than surface engagements. But it's also for close defense where you're too close to fire missiles. Yes. Let's see. A surface fire control system, as the name implies, is designed to control the fire of guns used against surface targets, that is, enemy ships or shore installations. Of course, the surface fire control system of a battleship is much more complex than that of a destroyer. Now let's take a look at some typical surface fire control systems as found on various types of ships. A battleship in the US is equipped with 2 main battery directors and 2 plotting rooms, one of each located forward and one aft. Each director, together with the equipment in either plotting room, can be used to control all or part of the main battery. In addition, equipment in each main battery turret permits emergency individual control of the guns. Secondary batteries on a battleship consist of 5-inch all-purpose guns used against aircraft as well as surface targets. There are 4 secondary battery directors, any one of which can be used to control one or all of these guns. They can also be used, if necessary, to control the main battery. The 2 secondary battery plotting rooms are similar to the main battery plotting rooms in that each contains 2 rangekeepers, computers, 2 stable elements, and the necessary auxiliary equipment. The reason why there are more than one of a lot of these is redundancy. Because if the front run gets knocked out, there's still the aft main battery director that can be used to make all the other stuff work good. It's very, very smart. So here's the diagram of where you can find all that stuff on on an Iowa class battleship. Now it might be a little bit different post-war, especially in the 80s when they get their refits that had tomahawks and stuff. There might be new fire control stuff that's over here where the secondary directors would have been or something, or new directors somewhere. But I'm not totally sure about that. Cruisers have fire control installations similar to those of battleships, except there are only 2 directors for the all-purpose secondary battery. There's a diagram of a Baltimore class or Des Moines, one of the 2. Not totally sure, but I think it's a Des Moines. On a destroyer, the main battery is also the all-purpose battery and consists of a number of 5-inch guns. There's only 1 main battery director and 1 plotting room, which control all guns. So you're out of luck if that gets hit. Sort of. Which control all guns. As on the larger ships, provision is made for individual control of each turret in the event that the director is damaged or destroyed by enemy action. So you're not totally out of luck, but you're not going to be as good. Because of the greater complexity and flexibility of the armament on a battleship, it's apparent that a more complex fire control system is required. Naval ships are armed with weapons other than those designed for use against surface targets. On the following sheets, you will learn something about the fire control systems used to control anti-aircraft and anti-submarine weapons, torpedoes, and guided missiles. And take a sippy and dry off my desk. I'm actually going to do something else for a second. I'm going to show myself in a certain place. Like right here. No. Yes. Where's the picture I wanted to use? Give me a second. Okay. One second, everybody. I'm going to be making Windows sounds. Just another second. Forgive me. I have a Twitch notification. We reset all stream keys 3 days ago. Thanks, I know. Oh, okay, my gift sub expired. Got it. What's this? Earbleed? Did I do something loud? I'm sorry. What's wrong? What's wrong with the audio? Oh, the Windows sound, yes. I'm sorry. Apologies. The worst sound in the history of the internet. I hate it too. Only the Windows sound. It probably won't happen again. Don't worry about it. Okay, let's get back on schedule. So now we're gonna learn. This is again, this is very similar. The way that this all works for anti-air is very similar to surface stuff. If you understood how it sort of works earlier. Anti-aircraft fire control systems of various types are designed to control guns ranging in size from light machine guns, as in like, what is it called? How did I forget what it's called? Like literally just like a straight up like 50 cal LMG. On a swivel mount. For 6-inch all-purpose. Do we even have a 6-inch all-purpose gun? Yes, we do. We do in 1953. We do have one in 1953, and it's on the Worcester class cruisers. Battleships and heavy cruisers are equipped with secondary batteries consisting of all-purpose guns, which are used against aircraft as well as surface targets. The main battery on a destroyer consists of a number of 5-inch all-purpose guns. The fire control systems used with these weapons for surface fire also control them when they're used against enemy aircraft. These guns are used for long-range fire at high or distant air targets and are centrally controlled as explained on the 2 preceding sheets. So there's numerous quote-unquote bubbles that surround a ship when it comes to anti-air. Since the gun, or the shell, and the gun itself are the biggest for the all-purpose guns, obviously they have the largest, I believe the correct term is envelope, in which they can make contact of some sort with the target. While machine guns obviously have the smallest, since they fire a smaller shell under smaller themselves. Or I guess in that case it's literally a bullet with a machine gun, but yes. The other anti-aircraft guns carried by naval ships are 3-inch, 40mm, and 20mm automatic guns. The number and arrangement of these guns depends on the type of ship carrying them. The 3-inch and 40mm guns, called the Heavy Machine Gun Battery, are equipped with a separate director and fire control system. Notice they're using metric here. Just wanted to point that out. Decentralized control permits firing at many targets at once. However, in an emergency, cross connections permit the heavy machine gun directors to control the all-purpose guns, and vice versa. So this is back at a Baltimore. No, this is a Des Moines class, I think. So it's got a lot of machine gun directors, as you can see. There's 4 of them on each side. And those are 20 mils. And then light machine gun, I think, means actually like 50 cals. The light machine guns are equipped with individual lead computing sights. There are two general classes of anti-aircraft fire control systems. Linear rate systems, which determine changes in target position, course, and speed by measuring the distance between successive target positions, and relative rate systems, which measure the angular velocity of the line of sight to determine target motion. The theory of operation of these two systems will be explained later. The linear rate system is used as the primary means for control of 5-inch all-purpose guns for both surface and anti-aircraft fire. The relative rate system of fire control was developed during World War II, when increased speeds made it necessary to reduce the time required for solution of the problem of hitting aircraft. Since this time is limited by the relatively short range of machine guns, although originally used only for light machine guns, 20mm, systems of this type have been designed to control 40mm, 3-inch, and 5-inch guns. So, as it turns out, in order to figure out where the plane is, if you want to accurately land shots and not guess when you're firing with a machine gun, per se, you gotta have math. At the root, it is the root of all evils, math. And computers, they exist just for math. Give me a second. Okay. So, generally, the linear rate systems control the big guns, and relative rate systems control 40mm, 3-inch, and lower. So I guess 3-inch and lower guns. So next we're on anti-submarine. The anti-submarine attack problem. The primary weapons used by surface vessels against submarines are torpedoes, depth charges, and head-first missiles. This basically means the Hedgehog. And similar weapons. I guess that also includes like weapon alpha, which is a kind of mortar. Well, they'll probably talk about this later. Depth charges are either rolled off the stern of the attacking ship or projected a small distance to the side. While a head-first missiles are projected to a position controllable within narrow limits, you can change like the elevation and I believe the train of the Hedgehog ahead of the attacking ship. Torpedoes may be fired to the side, ahead, or behind the attacking ship within certain limits, and continue on a set course under their own power. Torpedoes can be used against submarines, I believe, by this period. There is an anti-submarine torpedo that has been completed. The fire control problem is thus largely a tactical one, since it is necessary to solve the problem of maneuvering the ship into attack position. So we see all the methods that at least are acknowledging of submarine attack. I don't remember when Weapon Alpha comes out. Sorry, that might have destroyed your ears. When depth charges are used, the attack position is ahead of the submarine to allow for the sinking time of the charges. That's something you have to allot for. Because things only sink so fast. They did try to make them sink as fast as possible. That's something Eggheads spent a lot of time working on, making stuff sink fast. I have a text or something. What is this? For head-first missiles and torpedoes, it is not necessary for the ship to pass ahead of the submarine, since the missiles are aimed to fall at the indicated target position. Again, missiles here means the Hedgehog launchers and similar weapons. Since the missiles are aimed to fall at the indicated target position. In either case, however, it is necessary to determine 1. The course along which the attacking ship must be steered, and 2. The time to fire. So the depth charges and missiles will arrive at the predicted target position at the same time as the submarine. So you have to predict where the submarine will be. That's also important there too. It's not a thing that you just drive over. The submarine is going somewhere. Almost guaranteed. They're not going to be stopped. So then they're dead in the water. A survey of all anti-submarine fire control systems. This very much simplifies it. I've seen a very expanded on version of this that I don't totally get in Friedman's Destroyers. Before an attack can be made on an enemy target, whether it is on the surface, in the air, or underwater, the attacking ship must locate the target and determine its bearing, range, course, and speed. For surface and air targets, this information is obtained by the means of the gun director and rangefinder as previously discussed. Underwater targets cannot be detected with this equipment, however, since they are not visible and radar is useless underwater. Submerged vessels are detected by sonar, which uses reflected sound waves instead of radio waves, as in radar, to detect and determine underwater target range and bearings. So this is how sonar works, if you didn't